Welcome back to the show. We're going to be talking about what is your number, and I'm not referring to a sports jersey number or anything like that. This is actually a number that is much more important than that, even if you are a sports fan. My next guest is going to talk about just that. I'm joined by Fallis. He's a senior wealth advisor with Scotia Wealth. Great to have you back. It's been many, many years since you and I sat across from each other in this studio.
It has been many years.
So what do we mean by what is your number? Tell me a little bit about that, Graham.
So for me, your number essentially is the amount of money you need, the dollar figure, to retire and stay retired. And I know some of your viewers won't think in terms of retirement. You may have a job that you want to do forever.
Right.
So for that person, your number would be the amount of money you have to have so that if you are forced to walk away through no fault of your own, maybe there's a change with your employer, maybe there's a health concern, you're going to be okay. You can have the lifestyle you want for the rest of your life.
Okay. How do we figure out what that number is?
Okay.
That's the key, I bet.
That's always the key, all right? Always the key. And it's not complex. It can be complex. The industry likes to make things more complex than they need to be sometimes. But three things need it to find your basic number.
Okay.
We take a look at what are your expenses now? What is your lifestyle costing? And that can seem overwhelming. If you take a look at your Visa statements and your bank statements, that'll give you a very good idea of where most of your money is going.
Okay.
So you can figure out how much is my lifestyle costing me today. Then you project forward to when you're retired, or when you want to slow down, or you want financial independence. And ask yourself, what does that look like? Do you have certain expenses today, such as a mortgage? So we would advise you not to retire while you have a mortgage payment.
Okay. Every young person just went, what? What do you mean by that?
Exactly. With the headline news around 70-year amortizations now.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for another time.
Exactly.
But what things will you expenses no longer incur? So you can remove some of those from the lifestyle ledger, if you will. But there might be other things, Derek. It might be you always wanted a vacation property. So during retirement, you have perhaps a little bit more time. You may be adding some expenses for retirement properties, for hobbies, activities, travel.
Right.
You may or may not. It's all about what does your household lifestyle look like today? Where do you want it in the future? What's that date? We'll do some number calculations around that. Then the next step is, what sources of income do you have during that retirement or slowdown period?
Right. So let's look at, many of our viewers, perhaps they have a pension and, they're in good shape compared to many, depending on the type of lifestyle. What if you don't have a pension, and how do you then find that number?
Yeah.
And how do you afford that number?
Right. Yeah. So it's the same process for everybody, whether or not you have a pension.
Okay.
So one of the mistakes some people make is, I have a pension, I'm going to be okay. You have a pension, you may be okay, but if you're spending more money than that pension is going to provide, there's going to be a shortfall and there's going to be a problem. If you have no pension, absolutely, it's incumbent upon you to do some calculations, and as soon as possible to start to create your own pension plan.
Okay.
But the process should be the same.
So where do we put our money? Does it matter where we are within our lifespan? I'm young. Do I put it into TFSA? And now that I'm in sort of mid-career, do I go to RRSP? How do we figure out those things and where to invest?
Yeah. So you need to do some analysis around that. So first things first, what's the number going to be? And so then you work backwards from there.
Okay.
Because you may not need to save any additional funds. You might be okay.
Okay.
You may have acquired enough assets. You may not have. So we'll start there. But then where do you invest your money? It depends upon two things.
Okay.
One, what rate of return do you need? So certain investments will provide different features, different rates of return. And then the other thing is, what's my comfort level? So you might be alluding to, within the tax-free savings account, which is a great vehicle, and typically we'd advise younger clients to focus on that first, but not necessarily.
Okay.
Within that, you can buy a GIC, which is a guaranteed investment certificate, complete safety, complete peace of mind.
Right.
Or you might have some stock-based investments in there where there's some volatility. depending on your comfort level, you may not be suited to have investments that go up and down in value, right? So,
and I mean, I think that's the danger. And I joked with you, before we came on. I said, I kind of looked at my portfolio recently and went, "Oh my goodness!" But I mean, this has been a rough ride that we've gone through. Are you encouraged looking ahead that, all of those losses are probably going to be gains down the road, or is it impossible to tell?
That's a loaded question.
Yes,
because
that's why I asked.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks,
I'm just
Eric.
kidding.
So it depends on what you're invested in, because there are certain investments that have gone down given market conditions and economic conditions that will actually not survive this. They will get lower. So we can determine the probability of that by looking at the individual investments. There'll be other investments where absolutely we've got confidence that they will recover and go on to new highs. So it depends on the company, the sector. There's a lot of nuances to this. In general, you need to have some sort of plan or strategy, and then we get into the details.
Graham, if I come in and sit down with somebody like yourself, what should I come, with, to the table with?
So the starting point is to come with an idea of what it is you want, right?
Okay.
Most people want to find their number. They want to know they're going to be okay. So in order to know that, an idea of what you're spending money on now, an idea of what you'd like to spend money on in the future, we'll tally that up. We'll look at what sources of income you have, pension plans, investment properties, tax-free savings accounts, RSPs, those sorts of things. That's the starting point. But Derek, this is really an ongoing process.
Right. I'm encouraged. No, I really am. Whenever I start talking, finances with an expert, I always get intimidated at first. But somebody like yourself, you come on and you calm people down, and you make it realistic, in that you don't have to be a millionaire to have a comfortable retirement down the road. Graham, a real pleasure having you back here on the show. Thank you so much. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, we'll reintroduce you actually to a wonderful author. He joined us some time ago. He's back on the show. We'll be right back after this.